basically. What I want to do. What is this about? What's my life about? I've always been like a really sort of deep thinker in that way. I was always searching. And so I think I relate myself to every other woman that I encounter, thinking, you know, we're all one. You know, there's not that much different. You know, I can either sit here in my bubble, you know, in LA, the kind of healthy bubble. But the truth is, and I really learned this actually from when my book went on Oprah, because women from all over the country and all over the world, and the most kind of unsuspecting women for me, reached out to me, and they were like, something just resonated with them. They were like, yes, oh my gosh, yes, this is important, and I can do this, and I want to do this, and this is important to me. And I think it's just that realization that as women, we're all one, we're all the same. A lot of us are mothers, and we all get up in the morning out of bed, and we all want to feel that our life has purpose and our life has meaning, and that we can contribute, and that we can really raise ourselves out of the kind of, if you like, the hamster wheel and the treadmill, the tediousness of life, by going, no, come on, you can, it doesn't have to be that way. Pull yourself up, because every single one of you has a voice, and every one of you can make a difference. And every one of you, I call with the women that I work with, Jenny, I call, you know, the women who really realize themselves, everyone's a light worker. So everybody has their particular light to shine to the world in whatever manifestation that is. And so really, I think, again, a long answer, but I think it was finding that in myself, and really finding what's the light that I want to shine, and what is the meaning and purpose that I have in my life, and then putting that forth to other women, or in no matter what their circumstances are. And as you beautifully said, not just in a yoga studio, not just when we're chanting about, oh, let's find our intention, or let's, you know, it's like, no, everybody, doesn't matter who you are, where you are, you can empower yourself. And then that's really what it is. And over the years, I've seen so many women empower themselves in extraordinary ways, just knowing that you can do that. And it makes a difference, and you can make a huge difference to this lifetime, this short little blink of an eye lifetime that we have. It's like, how do you want it to be? How do you want to be? And the greatest way to think about how you want to be is, and you mentioned this word earlier, is what is the legacy that you want to live? So I have the women that I work with really focus a lot on their vision, really focus a lot on what it is, the future vision of me. What does that look like? You know, we do a lot of mindset work on that, because then it raises the ante, and you wake up in the morning and you can feel really excited, instead of just like, oh, I've got to go to Target and buy, you know, diapers for my kids. Do you know what I mean?
Do you work with women? I know that of your work, of your books, of your 4 amazing books, and of all the publicity you've had, all the TV shows you've been on. But do you work with women? I didn't know. Do you work with them one-on-one as well, as a consultation?
I do, yeah. So I do. Yes. So as you know, I have a lot of what I call almost the sort of forward-facing things that I do. So I have, you know, a YouTube channel, and like you, I try to create as much content as time permits that is, you know, information. I call it well, it's information. But also, I think I've realized, particularly over the last few years, that information isn't transformation. You can spend a lot of time on the internet getting a lot of information, and it doesn't necessarily translate to an inner, you know, inner and outer transformation. And that, I think, has been my big realization over the last few years, is particularly the last couple of years, is how best to spend my time. How can I really make a difference with either going like just skin deep and very, very surface level, or really bringing complete transformation to women that I work with. And that's something that I became very interested in doing. So I work with small, very small groups of women, and we do like immersive, in-depth coaching.
If somebody wants to do a course with you, do they just go to sophieuliano.com? Is there?
Yeah, you do. The best thing to do is to go to sophieuliano.com, and then, you know, if it's right for you and you can see why, because it's on my page, you could even book a call with me, and then on the call we discuss what it is that you want, the outcome that you want. Because ultimately when I work with women, I have to know the outcome that you want. So it's very, very specific what I teach. And maybe 50% of the women I speak to, it's not necessarily a good fit, because you might want something a little different. And so I only work with women, I only invite women to work with me if I feel that I'm 100% certain that I can get them that outcome they want, and that they will be very, very, very committed to it. Because I've also understood over the years that in order to achieve anything in your life, whether it's write a book, whether it's lose 50 pounds, whether it is start a business, you know, evolve your business, and you know this better than anyone, my love, requires such an enormous amount of commitment. And so, you know, that's really what it's all about. And I love working with women who are 100% committed to whatever it is that they want, because then you end up seeing, and they end up seeing, extraordinary results, which that's what I really live for.
Well, I remember you graciously invited me to one of your gorgeously green retreats. Was that, what was it called?
Yeah, the Hello Gorgeous.
The Hello Gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's always got gorgeous in it, because
Yeah,
life is gorgeous.
yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that was actually a very powerful retreat that I was blessed to be part of, because it brought women together. And I think we don't have enough of that. We don't have enough spaces and institutions that singularly bring women together as sisters, as confidants, as healers, as friends. And being part of that was very eye-opening for me also, because it made me realize that there is a very big need for women to be able to communicate with one another in a safe haven, away from their families, away from their work, away from their responsibilities. And I don't want to get cryptic about it, but we have a lot to heal within ourselves as women. I think with men too, but I think especially as women within the collective of womanhood and sisters, and being together socially in that way, without a glass of wine, or, you know, hanging out as a party-ish.
Yeah.
To really be together and to share and to release and to learn from one another. And I hope that the COVID-19 hasn't impacted our ability to be able to convene in that way. I'm sure we'll be able to be together again, but how do you feel when you have these retreats and you listen to these stories, and you share, you know, like myself, one-on-one, when I consult with women specifically, and there's so much trauma and healing that's necessary. How do you feel about the work you do when it comes to actually making an impact? And what are the basic fundamental things you begin with as a practitioner, as somebody who is a transformational muse, so to speak? What do you think are the most fundamental factors for the healing of a woman that you say you want to take somebody on that's 100% committed to changing?
Oh, that's such a good question. And first off, you know, I feel that the COVID-19 it's a blessing in some ways, because I think what it's done is it's forced us to go within, to stop, first of all, stop, quieten down, pause. Obviously, there's been a planetary pause. You know, the environment is breathing a sigh of relief, as we know, but I think we are as well as women. So it's less FOMO now. It's not like, oh my God, I've got to rush here, there, and everywhere. And the necessity, well, we've been forced actually just to sit down and stay still and stop running. And I know I understand that it's devastating for some women who have lost their livelihood and their jobs and whatnot. But out of all the women I've spoken to, it's been a tremendous blessing. And 90% of the women I speak to say, Sophie, I almost don't want it to go back to how it was, because they've gone within. And we connect, when I work with women, I work in very small groups. So we connect, just like you and I are doing now, a similar in a way, online, which doesn't take away at all from the, it's almost like having that physical connection, and without having to fly somewhere, which is great, or stay in a hotel. But, so the foundational aspects that I deal with are always, we start off talking about the beliefs that we hold as women, because the beliefs that we, I call it our internal operating system. So we all have an internal operating system, kind of much like a computer system. And, what I use a lot of analogies, but I love the computer one because we've all got most of us have got a laptop. And when that starts running slow, or it starts not doing what it's supposed to, you kind of, freak out. And then you take it to the Apple store, or you take it to the store, and you just hope and pray. And then they're going to take it away and go, oh, that was the thing. It's the diagnostic. And you're like, oh, what a relief. Thank you. You found out what was wrong with it. Can you fix it? And they're like, yeah, genius bar will fix it. So it's that's the analogy of what I do when I first start working with women, is it's a sort of diagnostic first. We have to understand what is not working in your operating system. And your operating system really is the thoughts and beliefs that you walk around with, and that you walked around with probably for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 decades of your life. And we are largely, obviously, unconscious of them. So that's the first thing we deal with. And it's really very, very powerful work, because if you can get to the nub of it, and if you can get to the nub of what I would call the major, the guy at Apple going, boom, that's the problem. And then that's the work that we do. So if a woman goes, oh my gosh, I had no idea that was the thought, the belief, the story that has been holding me back for 50 freaking years. And then we get to repair and transmute and transform that. So that is where I start. So it has to be internal. And then we go on to the mechanics and the external things, which will be diet, and will be exercise, and will be, meditation and whatnot. But to me, there's no point doing all of that, none, unless you get the underpinnings of it. It would be like taking your computer and just, hoping that you could clean the screen and that it would suddenly start running better. So we will clean the screen for sure, but first we have to figure out what's not working. And that's been my own experience. That's what I do every single day of my life. I wake up every morning, and I'm dedicated to a routine where I have to work on my mindset, because if I don't do that, then I'll go out into the world defaulting to my current circumstances. So what I'm committed to doing is to thinking greater than my current circumstances every single day, and creating the future that I want for myself and everybody else. And I'm dedicated. I dedicate time to do that every single morning, and that's what I encourage the people I work with to do.
Well, that's also another. I keep complimenting you, and I'm not intentionally, but
don't worry, I'll bring them on. I'm fine.
No, I just think that we're living in a time where we're bringing, we're exposing hypocrisy, hypocrisy since the information age and the information highway and the technological revolution. I think it's been this transcending exposure of lies and hypocrisy and inauthenticity, even though people can have an opinion that, you know, people are fake on Instagram and fake on Facebook and fake on social media. I think we can see through that. We can see the authentic. We can see the facades. We can see, and it's polarized, which is fantastic. It's almost like if the fake wasn't there, you wouldn't be able to see the real as much.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
I never thought of that. That's so true.
Actually, when people say, oh, so many fake, I'm like, you know what? Let the fake be don't worry about the fake. You just continue being authentically real in your practice, in your authenticity, in who you are as a human being, in your work, and the fake will take care of itself. And the hypocrisy I'm speaking of is do as I say, not as I do, which has kind of been our history. Our history as mums, our history as governments, our history as families, our history as institutions, our history as medical professionals. When the cardiologist is telling you to go for a run because you've got something wrong with your heart, but then you see him downstairs outside the hospital having a cigarette, things like that. And this is not judgment. This is just actual fact. You know, if you're a cardiologist, you really have no business smoking a cigarette. If you're trying to take care of people's heart rhythms and heart health, you have to emulate in your practice and in your contribution to the greater public, to your patients, to your own life, what it is that you know is good for the heart, good for the body. So what you're saying is actually very true, that in order for you to be able to practice what you know to be true, you have to imbibe it and live it yourself first, continuously. It's not like, well, I've done it for 20 years. Now I know, now I can just sit back, smoke cigarettes, have a beer, and tell people what they need to do not to be depressed and overweight. And I think, even though it sounds like a moot point, I actually think this is the most revolutionary part of what it means to live in true activism today, especially in the health and wellness industry. That if we don't continually thrive and live, try and develop in ourselves these practices that are naturally evolving and changing all the time anyway, just like we're uploading our computer programs, then we're basically just in a vicious circle and none of it means anything and it's all hypocritical. What do you have to say to practitioners and people that are not, I don't want to, well, yeah, I'm just going to say it, that are just Ponzi schemes? Like, for example, for me, like we have this amazing 2-week liver cleanse that has been, it's tried and true. It's not the only one. There are many wonderful detoxes in the world, but ours has been tried and true. 2 weeks, you have to refrain from certain things. You have to alkalize your bloodstream in order to scrub the liver clean. But you'll go somewhere and you'll see, take these pills and clean your liver. Don't quit coffee, don't quit alcohol. For things like that, for products like that, for people like that, for Ponzi schemes like that, what can you tell the audience insofar as educating them to differentiate between navigating what's real and what's, there's so many therapists, so many detoxes, so many organic product lines. How do you, as a wellness role model, wellness advocate, speaker, author, practitioner, how do you navigate your audience to wise up their antenna so that they don't fall into the traps of spending thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars or being led down the wrong road?
Oh my gosh, you ask the best questions. Oh, goodness. You know, the first thing, it boils back to, I think, what you said at the beginning of this little piece of conversation, is that you said, you know, do as I say, you know, do as I do, not what I say, basically. Because I would say the first thing that you want to do is, when you're looking at anything that you're thinking of doing or taking or trying, yes, there are a lot of scams out there. And worse than scams, there are what I call band-aids. Now, band-aids, my definition of a band-aid is something that you quickly take or do or whatever to sort of stem the bleeding, you know, and then, but you're not dealing with the cause. So I think that that's the most simple piece of advice I can give to you is, is the product or the person or the coach or the whatever it is it dealing with the cause of your problem or the symptom? And that's a very good way to go forward. So I had to take a two-pronged approach. That's the first prong. So for instance, with what you do, you're not giving somebody some kind of magic pills to go just do this and you're going to, you know, cleanse or whatever. You're going, we need to deal with the cause of why your liver is, you know, congested and doing all that in the first place. So therefore, you've got to change your diet, you've got to change this, you've got to change that, and this is going to support you in doing that, which is what you're doing. So therefore, you're like, okay, that I can, to me, look, go with your gut, because if somebody says that to you, your instincts as a woman, really listen to your instincts. If I hear that, I'm like, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense to me. If somebody goes to me, I've got this magical detox thing that you can go off and do and go to the desert and have, you know, 15 colonics and then come back and it's all going to be, you know, doesn't that raise a little bit of a red flag for you? Whereas if somebody goes to you, look, you've got, your body is a naturally healing organism. It's miraculous and it knows what it's doing. So I'm going to teach you how to basically deal with the miracle that you've already got. Honor it, listen to it, and I'm going to give you a little bit of help supporting it. So you may do that in the way of your incredible powders. And then I may do that, I'll do that in the way I coach women. That's the support, that's the accountability. So I think that that's the main thing. Run a mile if you're getting somebody who's just dealing with a symptom, whether it's weight loss, whether it's liver cleanse, whether it's, I don't know, what are some of the other outcomes that you desperately want.
There's a lot of witchcraft and things as well. Like, I don't want to, this isn't about judging anything, but there's a lot of people that are investing their time and money on external things. And it's like what you said, you have to start with the basics. Your body is the foundation. If we don't start with what's going on with the body that is so miraculous, that has an internal pharmacy within it. If you don't instigate and invigorate that, then you can't build the roof of the house.
No, you've got to even go deeper than that. You've got to deal with your spirit, and you've got to go deep. The foundation is even deeper, I would say, and then yes, or is part of the house, or is you know, is the house, and that, or the frame, as it were. But you know, so that's one thing, and then the other thing that I'm a bit of a stickler for is slightly more less instinctive and more, if you like, kind of mechanical, is the science. And what I say with the science is, you know, it is important to know, to understand the science, or to work with somebody who understands the science. If you can't be bothered with it, if you're like, I just can't, that's not for me, I don't know how to read peer-reviewed articles and know which ones are legit and which ones are not, then you really want to surround yourself with a few people in your space who, whether it's a doctor or whether it's a you know, a scientist or whatnot, who really takes the science very seriously in terms of the evidence-based science. And what I really say here, and this is the most important part of this, is not just one piece of science, because everybody can find one piece or two pieces of science to support what they want to say. You know, you can go to any blog and it's like, here, cited, you know. But what we really want, if somebody is putting their neck out, if you are chatting to me, or if I am, and I'm putting my neck out and I'm saying, listen, this is what I'm going to recommend you do, then for me, because I take your health so seriously, it can't just be my opinion. Yes, I have my opinion. Yes, I have my empirical. Yes, there's lots of anecdotal evidence. You know, it's like something good. I'll try and make this more real with something like the celery juice. So something like that, for instance. So everyone is on Instagram is talking about it. Everybody's doing it. It's crazy, you know, the before and after pictures. Girls, like one moment they're like this, and the next moment they look like a stick insect, and it's like celery juice and blah blah blah. And so here's the thing with celery juice: there's nothing wrong with it, and there's a lot of very legitimate anecdotal evidence of people who genuinely have said, I feel amazing drinking a gallon of celery juice. It's cleared up this, great, and that's fantastic. It's full of electrolytes. There's nothing wrong with it. But in terms of when we're making claims and miracle claims, for me, I would like to turn to somebody who can present multiple pieces of science to me about all the different claims that are being made. And come to, it's almost like being in a court of law. So, you know, if the jury's presented with just 3 little reports that might be a little suspect or might have a little bit of funding behind them, then you're going to be, no, I need multiple, like 150 pieces of evidence as a member of the jury before I'm going to decide whether that is something that is really legit. And I, in good conscience, can say to my, as somebody who influences people, that might be a really good idea for you. So those are the 2 things. There's 2 different things, but one is go with your instinct. You have great bullshit detectors, most of us. Just get out of your head, get in your heart, listen to somebody in the way they speak, look at what they present to the world. So you can do digging, you can see if somebody really walks the walk. I can, I'm sure you can as well. And then just do that, look at you. You're beautiful. You have this amazing spirit. You talk from a place of authenticity and passion. You've done your work. You've created a hugely successful business. So there's going to be something there that people are going to look at and go, wow, this is somebody who for sure walks the walk.
It's just like that, it's, for me, it's a sensitive issue because we have spent so many lifetimes dedicated to practicing, learning, and still learning. And it makes me a bit on edge when you're promoting something that is questioned, understandably, because there are so many scams, because there are so many dangerous almost alternatives in the same space. So I think having your radar open is important. And I think also educating the public like you do, as you say, is so important. And I think this vector of health and wellness, integrating from science to alternative medicine and wellness traditions and practices, is only going to be fostered and bloom more and more, especially now with this COVID-19 pandemic, when
yes.
One size doesn't fit all.
Oh, you're so right. And I think you've made such an important, poignant point there, because I think what COVID-19 has done is, like, I remember at the very beginning, I was making hand sanitizers because we couldn't get them. And so I made the hand sanitizers, and I tried to make them as close to the CDC, the World Health Organization, the blah, 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 I didn't know what the exact quantities needed to be of the percentage of alcohol versus that. I really didn't. And I've done loads of DIYs. I have a YouTube channel with 10 years of DIYs with antibacterial this and antibacterial that. But I had to really, pull myself up here and go, listen, this is serious. We're not messing around here. This is life and death for some people. And therefore, I'm not going to mess around. So to your point of mixing and blending, it's not the polarities. It's not either or. It's mixing the science and the people who have done the science and know that 70% or 90%, whatever it is, ethanol alcohol is required to blah, 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 blah. But then, and much what like you do, that's great. Let's start there. And then we can start bringing in I'm not even going to say alternative, but the holistic way of dealing with things. So then for that COVID-19, it would be do that. And of course, wash your hands thoroughly, 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 thoroughly. And if you're going to do antibacterial, it's got to have these exact percentages in. Then why not add some essential oils? Because, hey, that's what I love and it smells beautiful and it can be therapeutic and blah, blah, blah. And even more importantly, the big elephant in the room that we're all ignoring as we're freaking out about the germs is if you're supporting your body, starting, thank you, with your liver and all your gut health, and you are supporting your health and knowing how to boost your immunity, then that's something that is the most important thing. So we sort of deal with all of these things. But I think rather than this polarity of, I remember when that conversation was going on and I was posting some of these things on my Facebook and online and these antibacterial, and a lot of women would go, well, I've heard that, one expert is saying that the best thing to do is to take colloidal silver or something like that. And I went, well, this is not a time that we can, use things that there's a lot of huge question marks over. So to use colloidal silver as a matter to keep the germs at bay, personally, I wouldn't recommend that. There's not enough that I've read in the science that says that you're going to be protected. And loads of other things as well. Elderberry, yeah, elderberry, but, there's so many things that you've got to, take into consideration with that. And so, anyway, I think that is the work that it's incumbent on us or anybody in our space who is teaching other people to stay well and healthy, not to throw out the baby with the bathwater, and not to think that it all has to be completely. And as you know, that was my same, I have the same, in a way, a same approach to almost everything, actually, whether it's food or skincare or lifestyle or anything. It's just not my style to spiral off and to go into, we're not going to use anything synthetic or medical or doctors or it's just not my thing. I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. I mean, if maybe, half the children that have been born and half the mothers that live today would all be dead if we didn't have allopathic medicine that have been instrumental in surgeries and even cancer therapies. It has to be an integrative science. Alternative medicine and allopathic medicine stem from the same source. They stem from understanding and learning and integrating. And if we can nurture both and balance both, that is the future, as you know, with functional medicine.
Lifestyle medicine. Yeah, exactly. It's actually, because a lot of people say it's not, it's sick care, not health care. But actually, you need sick care and health care. You need, thank God, we have both. So it's just beautiful. It's just, again, it's like that. You've used the word a couple of times, polarity, but it's the systems that we live in now, and politically and environmentally and everything. All we hear is the extremes. It's the polarity. I'm right, you're wrong. And what if you're right and you're right? What if there's a bit of right in all of it? So let's just come to the table, get our ego out of it, get our needing to jump up and down and cause this sensationalist, whatever it is. Let's just get really quiet and use our sense, because we're all born with a lot of sense, and our intuition, and take the best of the best. Listen to the scientists, listen to the doctors, listen to the functional medicine doctors, lifestyle medicine. There's something there. There's something there. So that's what I do. I really keep my ear to the ground and I listen. And I know this is getting kind of complex in a way. I almost just want to give everybody a quick solution to how do we, back to your original question of how do we figure out what's real and what's fake, or who to follow and who not to follow, or what to buy and what not to buy. And I think really what I would say is, if you're a woman, which I'm imagining probably most people, I'm being very sexist here, but all the women, all the people in my community are women, you have a God-given intuition. And our intuition is our greatest gift. Trust yourself. If you are a mother and you have kids who are in trouble or desperate circumstances, and that mother lion instinct kicks in. You know what I mean, Charlie? You know, when you're sitting at a doctor's office with your kid, and as a mother, you're like a laser, knowing. You're like, nope, that doesn't make sense to me. Yes, that makes sense to me. We are doing this. And so I encourage you to take that much control over your own health, or take your own health and wellness that seriously. Do diligence, dig deep, ask questions, and ultimately use your intuition, because you're smart, you do have the answers, you do have the intuition. And when you listen to somebody, just go in there and go, is this resonating? And if it's resonating, those are the people that I work with. And I've worked with many coaches and mentors and teachers over the years, many. I wouldn't know nothing if I hadn't. I wouldn't be sitting here doing what I'm doing. And all of those people, I've made a few mistakes over the years. There's a few that I'm like, got 6 months down the line, and I'm like, oh no, but alarm bells are ringing, or shyster, or do you know what I mean? There's been a few that I'm like, oh, I feel like such an idiot. I've got like total egg on my face because I was kind of drinking the Kool-Aid for a minute, and then I'm like, oh God. But for the most part, I think as I've grown older and wiser, definitely as I've grown older and wiser, I'm like, no, you know what? I'm not wasting time. So I really, really have to, have to trust that and do my diligence. Does that make sense?
Very much so. Well, you are a pioneer, and you are a woman of the modern age, and I'm seeing more and more beautiful blossoms and blooms like yourself around, and it's reassuring, and it's inspiring, and it's encouraging. And I want to ask you, what's the most exciting thing going on in your life today? What are you driven to carve into your life today, and what do you see emerging in this kind of very mysterious, insecure future that we're sort of presented with right now, allegorically speaking?
Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, metaphorically, not allegorically.
Yeah.
Metaphorically.
Yeah. Okay, so big question. You ask big questions that require a lot of thought. What makes me passionate, what I love to do, to carve out in my own day, and that gets me out of bed every single morning and makes me excited about being alive, is connecting with other women to help lift each other on our journeys to really be able to realize and be the greatest expression of ourselves. So that is it. That is what I try to do in my own life, and that's what I try and do in the women's whose lives I touch. How can you be the greatest expression of yourself? And let's figure that out, and let's help you get there, because you have a purpose, you have a gift, whether that's just being you and being passionate and enjoying your beautiful, healthy life in your body, or whether it's going and, I don't know, traveling across the world and, being the next Jane Goodall or whatever it is. So that's my passion. That's what I love doing. And how it relates to COVID-19 and the pandemic is that I think that this change has allowed a little chink to open in the armor of a lot of us as women who are so busy and tired and driven and burned out and exhausted in our everyday life, just being on this hamster wheel of, oh, you know, I've got to keep going, I've got to keep going, and there's the next one. And then when you're in that stressed out state, you do reach for band-aids, and you can't listen to spend out, you know, tapping into your intuition and listening to the expert who's the authentic one, because you're just desperate and you're just grabbing, oh gosh, give me that detox pill that's gonna do this, or send me away for that weekend and I can come back and be 20 pounds lighter, or because I can't. And what I think this pandemic is doing is slowing us down enough to go, you can and you should, and slow down and get your priorities right. What has to come first? Because this is showing us that life is short, that it's tenuous, and it's so precious. And everything about it is precious. You know, just during this pandemic, even bringing good food into the home and seeing and really having the highlight on the people that bring the food to the home, and then the people that produce the food, and the people who are just, every part of it was slowing down enough to becoming more mindful, I think. And in that mindfulness, I would encourage everybody to go, look, life's short. What you've got now is what you've got. Be careful before you get back on the hamster wheel when it starts opening up again and you start getting back into life as normal, spending hours on Instagram every day, being so, you know, and I'm not throwing any aspersions or judgment because, hello, I have a feed too. But do you know what I'm saying? I think let this be a lesson to us. If you have had a little bit of respite during this time, and a little bit of a wake-up call of, oh golly gosh, I really do need to take care of myself in a different way now. I really do. Please, please go deep. Take that. Put on your scuba gear and dive deeper and deal with what needs to be dealt with rather than getting back on the hamster wheel. Because if you don't, you'll just get more of the same. So I hope in some way that this COVID-19 has slowed you down enough, or some of us down enough, that we can make some transformational changes within, rather than just little surface changes that won't last.
Fantastic. I couldn't agree with you more. And what you said, the poignant thing about what you just said, which all of it was immensely valuable, is that what are our priorities and what do we start with? And I think that people like yourself and myself, who have dedicated our lives to living a more holistic and healthy and integrated lifestyle, what we can offer and share with our audience, with our colleagues, with our clients, with our patients, is that if we don't take care of the basics continuously as a practice, as a ritual in our daily lives, moment to moment, then we will not be able to sustain any kind of real healing or evolution in any parts of our lives, whether it's our relationships or our work or even the environment. So taking care of the basics, that's why with Chandni.com and our organic product line that's based in this whole science of integrated wellness, your psychology, your sociology, your physiology, your sociology, all of it together, is that we, from the moment we wake up, we have to say, like you said, what is going on with me today? And what are my practices? And what are my rituals? And what are the things that I've learned yesterday that I can impart and place into my life today? And I think that's a very humbling and also exciting way to live. That just because you've had all this training, or just because you've had all this trauma or experience or whatever it is in your yesterdays, that every day something new can be imbibed, something new can be included, and something else can be discarded that no longer works for us. And I think that children are like this, actually. And I think when we grow up, it's like when we hoard stuff in the garage, you know, it's like all of a sudden, especially, you know, in England, in the houses, it's like just piles and piles of things. It happens the same in our mind, in our bodies. And so keeping everything sort of fresh and alive and new, and trying things out and leaving things out and including other things is the new way, is the new hope, is the new health, basically, that is unending. And you're right, COVID-19 has magnified this to all of us across the globe more than ever. What do you want to see in the next 10 years?
Oh, in the next 10 years, what I would like to see,
Whatever it is, whether it's everyone becoming vegan, because I know you're a big vegan, or what's close to your heart that you'd like to see develop in the world?
I would like to see a massive revolution in the way that we treat animals, animal agriculture, and that to really understand, and COVID-19 has really brought, that's a whole other hour's discussion of how that's really exposed some of the, the big weaknesses and the ugliness in the meat, the animal agriculture. But I'd like to see a revolution. A revolution has started in some areas as far as that is concerned, but really, really understanding that this is what I'd like to see. I would like to see an understanding, not just in like the little tiny political, liberal areas that we live, but a global understanding that what we do to animals and the way that we treat animals right now for food, and the way that we produce animals on a global scale for food cannot go on any longer. Because veganism aside, whether or not you agree that eating a whole food plant-based diet is going to really promote your health and prevent disease, which is what I find the science to be telling us is the case. But whether or not, take that aside, if we continue the way that we're going on, locking up animals, keeping in these giant global feeding operations all over South America, all over the world, we are just going to see more and more zoonotic diseases. We have not even seen the tip of it with COVID-19. And so I see, let this be a massive lesson to us in that respect, that the wet markets, we've got to stop pointing the finger to the wet markets in, China and whatnot. And we have to look at what we're doing in our own backyard. And we have to at least be aware and be conscious of it, and to really understand that, I'm an honesty chatty, I could go on for hours, but it's just really it's awareness. That's what I want. I want more awareness. That 90% of the world's antibiotics that are produced are used in factory farms, 90%. And that they are creating these superbugs that we're never going to be able to treat. And, and the whole, thing goes on. But I can get on my soapbox about that, but I feel deeply passionately about it because it's just so full circle, the whole thing. If we carry on treating animals in this way, not only are we making our bodies sick by eating those animals, but we're making our planet sick. And even if you don't believe any of that, then you're going to see zoonotic diseases that are going to literally make the people you love sick and die. So something's got to change. Something's got to give.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable for it to change. And
I hope so.
I think more people now are aware of this than ever, and it's been a sad way to have to make this evident. But nature always finds a way to do what it needs to do to make changes.
Yeah.
And hopefully, like you said, we're more and more aware. As a woman living today, where do you see the role of women in business, women in wellness? women in their households. How do you see that changing today?
Oh gosh, I see it changing massively. You know, my daughter's 18, and so she's just started college, and she is a is interesting because she's studying women's, you know, everything about women now. She goes to a women's college, actually. So she's super involved, and she's this powerful force to be reckoned with. I'm like, oh, you know, hearing her talk at the dinner table, and she's just, to her, there is, you know, women are, you know, she's surrounded by young women who are the pioneers of our future. That my daughter's, she is in STEM, she's STEM, she's a science, you know, that's what she wants to do, is she's going into science. So it's very, what am I trying to say? It's very inspiring for me to hear that all the time, particularly now she's at home, because it makes me see, wow, I mean, there is, you know, absolute equality with her, more so than she would have. It would be appalling to her to be paid less than a man for doing the same job. It would be appalling for her to be, I remember it was only yesterday that we were watching something on TV, and a man said something about a woman, like, oh, that's a bit, I'd love a little bit of that or something. And my daughter was saying, God, can you imagine if that came out of a woman's mouth? You know, so it's all, anyway. So I think we're in for huge, humongous change, not just in the next 10 years. I think in the next year, 5 years, and then 10 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it's a redefining time for women. It has been since I was born and since you were born. And I think it's becoming even more exponential now with these little lionesses that are growing. And I'm proud that our girls can see us breaking norms and breaking traditions and, you know, breaking the rules and being unique and different and having a voice and doing it all. I think an individual who wants to have it all and do it all can, no matter where they're from, what gender they are, how much they've had, how much they haven't had. I think the world, you know, Ayurveda always says we celebrate the individual, and when we can understand our own unique individuality from the basics, then nothing can prevent us from achieving our destiny, which is so important and rightfully needed by every single individual. Like, you help your audience, your clients. So I do feel hope in this crazy, tragic time of the health crisis and the economical crisis. There are beautiful signs everywhere that we are actually, despite it all, evolving. What do you want to say the last thing about, I know we sent you the women's blend and you've been taking it, and it's so lovely to have you as an ambassador for our line, and why you think that, you know, wellness and food is such an important part of your work, and why it's so important for people to pay attention to.
Well, you said it. I was going to say amen to what you said, because I absolutely echo what you said. And I think it's so powerful the way that you articulated it, which is that women, I feel the same way, can do whatever they want despite their circumstances. And the only thing that can get in your way is your own thinking and your own beliefs. And that's it. End of story. And so we support each other to get those beliefs out of the way and get on with it. And both you and I have teenage daughters, and it is wonderful for them to see that. You are absolutely right. And, you know, that's what my daughter said to me on Mother's Day yesterday. She wrote me a beautiful letter, and she just said, you know, I see you being somebody who's, you know, you basically almost saying that, what you just said. You know, I watch it and I see that you're having it all and you're doing it all, and you're, you know, all that. It was just the most beautiful letter. But so everybody can do that. And then back to the blend, you know, then we bring it back to, you know, something that's very real and tangible. So we have a blend, your woman's blend, superfood blend, which can support us. in a way that's very gentle and natural, to do, as I said before, to support our body to do what it needs to do so well. And we need to have that in order to be able to be these great expressions of ourselves, to do it all, have it all, be who we want to be. You've got to be healthy. You're not going to be able to do that if you're feeling sluggish, if you're feeling ill, if you're a little overweight, if you just don't love your body and love yourself. It's going to be hard. So let's start with getting this all how we want it to be, and that's doable and it's absolutely attainable. So you start with a beautiful morning smoothie. You can pop in the women's smoothie blend, get everything going there, and it's delicious, by the way. I love it. I said to you when you sent it to me, I love it because I love the herbs in it. And you know what I'm like. I am so fussy about anything. Like, I really very rarely recommend smoothie blends because most of the time all the ingredient decks that I read, I'll go, oh no, it's got like 5 things in it that I just cannot recommend. Either it's stevia, erythritol, sugar, spirulina. They're things that I just personally, as a nutritionist, I'm a board certified nutritionist, that I just don't love in a lot of ingredient decks. So when I got this, it was very recently, you sent me these new blends, and I was like, oh, I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, it's exactly what I want in it. And it doesn't taste chalky or anything. And it's got, it's got everything that I need to support me. I love the adaptogens. So anyway, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful blend. And it's lovely to have little things that we can do every day. Now, you and I, Chandni, have been talking in great lofty terms, which is lovely, and our beautiful philosophical No, and I love that. This is why I love that you're doing this, and thank you for giving me even the window to be able to do that. I love nothing more than having these conversations. But on a practical level, that's what we can do. You can get up tomorrow morning, you can make yourself a beautiful smoothie, you can pop in, a tablespoon of the smoothie blend, and you've done your first little step in taking care of yourself from the inside out. And then, we move on, and you can do, just keep on popping in another step and another step and another step. And so anyway, so thank you for those.
No, thank you. The reason why I mentioned the women's blend with what we're talking about with the practice of women and women evolving and changing is that we've been known as the neurotic, crazy bitch historically. I mean, it's just out there. And if we're premenstrual, if we're premenopausal, if we're menopausal, we move with nature. We're sensitive, we're intuitive, we're like the waves in an ocean. If we don't satiate and nourish and balance and heal consistently and intelligently, moment to moment, day to day, season to season, we will be imbalanced as women. Particularly a man's makeup, socially and physiologically, is such that he can be more linear. We're more of a organic unity that's constantly synthesizing itself as it moves and shifts and changes. So having a daily tonic for a woman, as an example, it could be also a meditation practice or a yoga practice or a walk in the park. It's integrative, and it has to be consistent, it has to be ritualistic, and we have to be accountable for practicing it. Otherwise we will be caged in the neurotic, imbalanced realms and then fall into disease and imbalance again. We don't need to.
I've got to call my little dog. Sunshine, come here.
Sunshine!
Sunshine scratching.
Does not even look real.
Huh?
Sunshine doesn't look, it looks like a teddy bear.
I know she looks like a teddy bear, but she's not. Come here, Sunshine. She's like, no, she's scratching to get out of the door, so I'm going to let her out.
Go get her.
Yeah, I'll quickly get her. Sunshine.
Quickly.
Come here.
Darling. You have to see Sunshine. The cutest dog on the internet.
Yes, there she is.
Oh, hello, Sunshine. Hello, cuddly bear. Hello, my dog.
She's like a little bear.
Cute.
I know. She went swimming yesterday, and she is just a little, adore. Anyway, my lovely, I've got to let her out. I think she was scratching because she wants to go outside. But thank you so much for having me today. And just it's been an absolute delight speaking to you. As usual, you're looking so beautiful, and I cannot get over that rose garden behind you. It's stunning.
It's springtime, summertime. It's a good time for the blooms.
It's very good time for the blooms.
Sophie, thank you so much for giving your time today.
Oh, thank you for having
I'm
me.
going to post some links of your books and your website for people to reach you if they need to. And I can't wait for us to converse again about more.
Me too. Me too. Thank you so much for having me. You're an absolute mwah, really. And these, I can't. I was saying to, yes, Chanty, every single time I wear these, wherever I go, people are like, where can I get one of those malas from? They're so beautiful, and you're so generous.
I'm so happy. You wear it so well. Lots of love.
Thank you, my love. Bye-bye, sweetie. Bye.
Okay.
Are we not live anymore?